What makes Russell Westbrook so good? Russell Westbrook is consistently in the news. The 32-year-old player has found a way to become one of the NBA's most talked about players. Despite being a fascinating player on the court, the player has been heavily criticized off and on the court. Just recently, the player was in the news when analyst Stephen A. Smith downplayed all his achievements because he had never won a championship. As expected, Russell Westbrook fired back at the analyst, saying he wouldn't allow people to create narratives for him, even though he puts his play on the line every night and every game for the Washington Wizards. Russell has had an interesting career, but several fans still haven't seen why he deserves all the accolades he can get. In this video, we'll be showing you and explaining why Russell Westbrook is one of the best players in the NBA. Welcome to Courtside, your one-stop channel for every piece of buzzing NBA news, rumors, and game analysis. Do not forget to hit the subscribe button and share this video with your pals. Russell Westbrook in the news again. Russell Westbrook is no stranger when it comes to being in the news, whether it's for breaking a record or making a powerful statement. The NBA star enjoys being in the spotlight. Recently, his name has appeared in the news after Kevin Durant initially forgets his name when asked to mention his top 5 teammates. Now, this might not sound like a big deal at first, but picture a scenario where Kyle Lowry is asked to mention the top 5 teammates of his career, and he forgets to mention DeMar DeRozan. This would no doubt look suspicious, even if it might have been an innocent mistake. Would it be possible to believe that John Wall would ever forget Bradley Beal if he was asked to mention his top 5 teammates of his career? If LeBron James was asked this question, do we think he would ever forget Kyrie Irving? This is exactly why it came as a shock in a recent Million Worth of Game podcast interview when Kevin Durant was asked to name the top 5 teammates of his career. Kevin slowly took his time, appeared to be brooding, and started with his current Nets teammates, James Harden, Kyrie Irving. He then went ahead to mention Steph Curry and Klay Thompson, both former Warriors teammates. The player concluded by mentioning former OKC cohort Serge Ibaka. There was one obvious omission from the list, and it was none other than Russell Westbrook. However, after a few puzzling looks from the interviewer, Durant finally removed Serge Ibaka to replace Westbrook. On first thought, this is not entirely a big deal, as the human mind is known to forget even the most important details. But it's possible to forget a player you spent 7 years playing with, a player who he regarded in 2014 as his favorite teammate in the world. It is also interesting to note that Kevin Durant and Russell Westbrook played 3 conference finals together and 1 NBA final. However, this is just testament to how many times Russell Westbrook has been disrespected. For a player who has broken a number of NBA records and received a number of accolades, he isn't certainly given the attention and positivity he deserves. Russell Westbrook recent record-breaking feats. Just a few days back, Russell inched closer to having the highest triple-doubles in the NBA. In his last few games, the player has managed to reach an astounding figure of 171 triple-doubles in his career. And he's just 10 shy away from beating the record of Oscar Robertson. While it is only a few games before he takes charge of this record, Russell has also reached another milestone in his Saturday game against the Detroit Pistons. At the end of the game, Russell had recorded 15 points, 14 rebounds, and 11 assists, a record which marked his 25th triple-double in the season. This immediately made him the first player in the history of the league to have 4 seasons with 25 triple-doubles. Russell was currently on fire, and experts have asked if the player will be able to manage to become the #1 triple-double player in the history of the league. The player has entirely changed the dynamics of the triple-double, and it's only a matter of time before he becomes the undisputed king and cements his name into the Basketball Hall of Fame. In just his first season with the Washington Wizards, Russell Westbrook broke the club's record for the highest triple-doubles in just 38 games. This season again, the player has recorded 25 triple-doubles in 48 games, with a record of 11 in his last 13 games. If the player maintains this level of consistency, it's only a matter of time before he blows off the record of Oscar Robertson. What makes Russell Westbrook different? Antonio Daniels is a former basketball player and now an analyst on Fox Sports, and in a recent reveal, the analyst mentioned that Russell Westbrook is one of the most underrated NBA players. The analyst said of the player, "Russell Westbrook to me is one of the most underrated players in the history of sports. I used to be in the studio, I wanted to rip my suit off and go to war with him." The analyst then added that despite the stats Westbrook has accumulated over the span of his career, also despite his accomplishments with every team he's ever played with, his potential has been either ignored, criticized, or not talked about enough. To understand why Russell Westbrook is such a good player, we must first of all understand his place in the Thunder's team, where he played from 2008 to 2019. At some point, several analysts believed that Russell was the reason why the Thunder hadn't won a championship. However, we later saw that the player was not a hindrance, but the secret to the great quality of the team. During his play with the Thunder, Russell was no doubt one of the best point guards in the NBA. In fact, his recent play with the Wizards have shown that the player still has the abilities he displayed years ago with the Thunder. Westbrook is a player who plays explosively and a volatile demeanor to accompany with this. What makes him different as a point guard has always been the fact that he has a score-first mentality. This makes him completely different from other elite guards like Tony Parker, Chris Paul, or Rajon Rondo, who have a playing style that favors passing first. However, if any one of these players had the sort of physical strength Westbrook possesses, then they would always want to score first. As regards to his explosive ability, Westbrook is one of the hardest players to guard in the NBA. He's also fast enough to be able to attack from anywhere, and his athleticism allows him to do this with style. He also has an impressive ability to spot openings in the defense of the opposition, and he can maneuver these openings no matter how small they are. In addition to this, Russell is a potential threat to the rim of opposing teams, and these teams have to constantly fear his ability to easily break through. This year, the player ranked 19th in the league in PITP, where he stands right behind James Harden. Also, the player also ranks as the number 3 in the NBA in drives per game, with only James Harden and DeMar DeRozan ahead of him. When it comes to guarding Westbrook one-on-one, this is nearly impossible to achieve. If these teams then decide to put more players on him, they free up his teammates, which naturally makes them more dangerous. This is no doubt one of his most interesting abilities, as it is very difficult to hold down a player who can start an attack from anywhere on the court. Another factor that makes Westbrook so good is his fearlessness. Injuries can destroy the career of promising NBA players, and this explains why a number of point guards usually play with a huge degree of care. However, Westbrook doesn't believe in this style of play. The player has shown on different occasions that he's not scared to put his body on the line for the team. This is especially obvious when he attacks the basket. As you would expect, this player has suffered a number of major knee and hand injuries in the last couple of years, but these injuries have only made him more fearless. It's almost impossible to ignore the jumping ability of the point guard. On several occasions, Russell was completely stopped on a drive and pulled off a crazy jumper. This fascinating quality is also one of the reasons why the player is so difficult to guard. Of course, his jump shooting is not entirely reliable. It has the power to confuse defenders. This is because these defenders are trying to stop him from driving to the basket. When he stops the jump, their entire framework for guarding him is left clueless. If Westbrook becomes a better jump shooter, it would only be a matter of time before he drives in and out of defenses claiming points. Additionally, Westbrook is a player who opens up for his teammates. As earlier mentioned, Westbrook is so dangerous that every team has had to send more defenders to guard him, and this naturally leaves his teammates open for wide open shots and drives. In the NBA, he's one of the most attacked point guards, which is exactly what makes him one of the biggest offensive weapons on the Wizards. Conclusively, what makes Westbrook different from other defenders is his physical qualities. When it comes to rating point guards by their overall athletic abilities, Russell Westbrook easily takes first place. This is because he's the right size, has the right amount of strength with a bit more, and extraordinarily agile. These physical attributes easily set him apart from every other point guard in the NBA. Russell Westbrook has no doubt had an interesting career. He was the NBA Most Valuable Player in 2017, and also a 9-time NBA All-Star player. Westbrook is a 2-time holder of the NBA scoring champion, a feat he achieved in 2015 and 2017. He was the assist leader in 2018 and 2019 and made the NBA All-Rookie First Team in 2009. Why else do you think Russell Westbrook is such a great player? Tell us about it in the comment section. Thank you for watching this video. Don't forget to share it and hit the subscribe button. We are Courtside.